Welcome to my 2026 Creative Video Tips Studio Tour over here. I'm going to cover 10 production items I use regularly if I go out and shoot, gear items. I'm going to cover 10 post-production gear related items with affiliate links that help support the channel down below. And then the last 20 items, I'm going to do 10 items that are paid software items I use regularly, and then 10 free software items if you stick around for that chapter. Let's come on in and take a look. Item 1 on the list is actually the Blackmagic Video Assist 12G monitor. It's this guy right here, and it has a cage around it from, I guess it's called Knights or Nitsy or whatever. But what I love about the monitor is I shoot with Sony cameras, and it gives me the opportunity to record Blackmagic RAW directly out of the Sony camera. So that means I get no internal compression, none of that internal noise reduction that gets mushed and baked into it. I can get a really clean signal out of the Sonys. That's one thing that's great about it. The other thing I love about the Blackmagic Video Assist that I use every single day is I actually use it to record my screens right off of my Mac Studio. So the HDMI port out of the Mac Studio goes into this HDMI port here, and then I can get a super clean recording that not only plays back super nice for those long tutorials that we do here on the channel, but it also is a really high quality, and it doesn't use any of the internal processing that's on the Mac itself. Item number 2 on my production list is the Sony FX30 camera. So I got this maybe a little over a year ago, but it's become my favorite talking head to YouTube camera. One, because I can just leave it plugged in and on all the time. It's got a fan so it doesn't overheat. The other thing is there's a lot of nice little lenses, like the 10 to 20 lens that's on here. That would be my third item that I love. It's a power zoom lens, which means I can actually optically zoom, not digitally zoom, with an iOS app that I can control with either with my phone or an iPad right in front of the desk, or if I'm out, shooting an interview or something, I don't have to be behind the lens to control the zoom of it. And with the FX30, another key item is get the handle, the XLR handle, because then you can use professional microphones with it plugged directly in and you're not having to synchronize later. I would say the pro tip on the handle that I'll give you is you can usually get the handles off of eBay, and they're the same handles. They've just been parted out in China or whatever. So a lot of times you can get an external handle for an FX30, which is what I did, for maybe 150 bucks or something. Of course, that always changes, but it's a lot less than like the 400 bucks you'd have to pay from B&H. So FX30 body, 10 to 20 lens, and get the handle. So that would be my second and third items. Item 4 is going to be the Earthworks Ethos Broadcast Condenser Microphone. I love this for a lot of reasons. One is, well, it's the best sounding microphone I've ever heard that can sit on a desk for production. So podcast microphones, this is the best. It's not the SM7B. Everyone's lying to you about that. For some reason, everyone loves it. So be unique and get the best sound with this. Part of the reason of that is, one, it's a condenser mic, so it doesn't need a high quality preamplifier because it's actually getting electricity from phantom power. The other thing is it really it holds those high frequencies where all the intelligible parts of speech live without you having to do any EQ to it. Like literally just record and it sounds good. Next production items that I can't live without are my tentacles for timecode. So what I like to use are actually the Tentacle Sync E. It's a timecode generator, and then Tentacle Sync Track E. Basically the Track E, this device here, it's the bigger of the two. They look the same, but they're not. This one is actually an audio recorder. It's a 32-bit float audio recorder. The reason that this is the best thing out there and why I use it time after time for like long event shooting is the fact that it has a battery that lasts all day. A lot of the other products out there are going to die after 3 or 4 hours, and you're going to be worried, is the battery going to drop? Well, I can stick this on someone at 7 or 8 in the morning, collect it from them at 5 in the evening, and it just has all the audio from all day. I've never had a single failure on it. And that's how I'm recording this right now, is with another Tentacle Track E connected with another one of these Tentacle Sync-Es. So the other box is not actually receiving the audio. What this is it's a timecode generator. So it's allowing the camera to record the timecode, and we sync those up. And I've shown many times on past tutorials how you sync with timecode on the channel. I'll link to that right now, but it just makes things so much easier because what it allows you to do is you can stop a camera, start a camera, and never have to worry about, do I have good scratch audio to synchronize to? And in most cases in event shooting, you don't have good scratch audio because you're gonna have dropouts if you're using wireless audio. This is not wireless, by the way. This is just The audio that gets recorded on here does not get sent back to the camera. It's just living on the person, so you can't monitor it. That's the only downside. Big fan of these. The other reason I would say Tentacles are the best out there is they work with the iPhone Blackmagic camera app to actually assign time code. It can pull the Bluetooth time code from this directly to the Blackmagic camera app, which I don't think any other company is doing out there. Next production item is the microphone itself. This is the only time I think you'll ever see me on the channel hold a lavalier mic like this, because this is completely wrong. Don't unsubscribe for me doing this. I just want to illustrate how I actually use it. This is a Sanken Cos 11 lavalier mic. I think it's the best lavalier mic out there. And I've used DPAs as well. And the reason I like this better is the cable's thicker, and it doesn't seem to get as much interference from like clothing rustle and that sort of stuff. But for those of you influencers out there, this is how you put a lavalier on. You get yourself what's called a bumblebee concealer like housing for whatever microphone, so that the tip of it's not rubbing against your clothes. Then you get some of these. This is Lav concealer tape from Bumblebee as well. And it's basically a really sticky glue that sticks to the back of here, and then you slap this on someone's chest, and then it goes under their clothes, believe it or not. This is how mics are meant to be worn, because they're designed on what the sound is when it's placed on your chest, not out here. Should sound better now. Anyways, Cos 11, that's my mic of choice in this production gear list. The next item is the Amaran 60X light. That's what I have above my desk. It sits right over there. The reason I love the 60X is I can make that, looks like it's set to 3900 Kelvin, so it's like a warmer looking, like a yellower looking foreground. And then I can set the background to like a daylight temperature. It just gives you that sort of little tiny bit of color contrast. And they don't take up much power, and they work with the Amaran desktop app. So I can actually press a button on a Stream Deck over there, have all my Amaran lights power on, and I can even control the intensity and color temperature from it. So Amaran lights, I think, are kind of a no-brainer if you do YouTube content and sit in a studio. Now, down under my desk, I want to show you the light stand I use, because it's not the normal light stand. It's the iFootage round base light stand. You'll see right here, it doesn't take up as much space. That's what I love about this. It's a really, really heavy, sturdy base. So it works perfect if you even want to put a camera on top of it, or like I have the Amaran 60X light. This one I think I've had for over 10 years. It's the Watson, so I think it's a B&H brand, but it's their LCD battery charger. It can charge multiple batteries, so I've got multiple Sonys on here charging at once, and what's great is it tells you the percentage that it's charged, and it also has a USB out of here too, so if you need to travel with something that needs like USB-C charging, this is really nice, and I think it's on a big sale right now too, I just saw. Number one on my post-production gear list is going to be Stream Decks. So Stream Decks are essentially macro buttons that you can program to do whatever the heck you want. I've got a small one here that I've had for a while, and I've actually just added a larger one, mostly because of some of the new track patching that's been in DaVinci Resolve 20. So I wanted a faster, easier way to disable auto selects, sync locks, patch tracks, that sort of stuff. And that's what this allows me to do. Like I can push in all audio for my auto selects to be turned on and off. I can do the same with all the sync locks. So this smaller one over here I actually used to turn lights off and on a lot. So if I press this, you can see that shut off some of my lights. So lots of different ways you can use them. I will suggest a YouTuber named Joshua Kirk has an excellent explanation on how he set up his Stream Deck, and I'm actually inspired to set mine up in a similar fashion. The next big core of my post-production gear is in my server, my file server. So I use a Synology RS 1221 Plus. So it holds 8 hard drives. It's about 100 terabytes of data that it holds, and it sits right out here in a closet. So let's, I'll give you a little closer look at this, what it looks like. And what I love about having a server here is, one, I get speed redundancy by having 8 drives that are striped together. I essentially get 10 gig speeds. The other benefit to having a server like this is I can test and lab out collaborative workflows. So I use DaVinci Resolve Project Server, and multiple computers can hit one single version of all the footage from this guy and actually edit from this. It's not just an archive, it's an active working storage server. The DaVinci Resolve Editor keyboard. This, by far, the most expensive keyboard I've ever purchased, but I will say part of that is because you actually get a studio version of DaVinci Resolve included when you buy the keyboard. So you could basically say the keyboard's like $300 something less than you actually pay. But the reason I love it is this spinny boy that's on the right side of it. It's not the same that's on the speed editor. It actually has a mechanical clutch if you go under the shuttle mode. You can hear there's actual software controlled dials on it, although I will say I don't use the shuttle mode of it a lot, mostly in jog and scroll, but it just makes trimming and editing so much more enjoyable. As well as you've got all the buttons that I've talked about on the speed editor before on the left side here, and then a normal mechanical red cherry switch key set in the middle. I actually want to tell a quick little story. Just a week or two ago, I was working on some training elements that I was preparing for this, and I spilled an entire cup of coffee right down the middle of this. Well, I actually took it apart. I'll show a picture, but no damage was done after spilling an entire cup of coffee on the keyboard, and I think that's just a testament to how rugged this thing is built to last a long time. If I could only have one item out of this list of 40 items besides Resolve, well, I guess it comes with Resolve, this would be it. The next piece of post-production gear that I don't think I can live without anymore is the DaVinci Resolve Micro Color Panel. The reason I love this, and I even have the mini panel, the larger one, is that this, you can see, I've got a lot of crap here on the desk. It's high quality, good crap, but like nonetheless, things pile up, and I don't need all the functionality on the mini panel most of the time. It's got power windows you can actually resize with the trackballs and wheels that are on here. So we've got an offset button you can press, which changes this to temperature controls, tint controls, and then offset, which is the same as printer lights. It's just, you know, easier to control than using a mouse and clutching down. And I love, it's even got add windows, add keyframes, stuff you wouldn't expect in a base level. Well, it's not really in an entry level color panel. It's got everything that I need. It's got everything that most people need. The Beyerdynamic DT900 Pro X headphones. You need to hear what your actual audio sounds like, not some colored version of it. I've had these for 4 years now. I've caught lots of QC mistakes on national broadcast commercials with them, and they're great. They're wired headphones. They come with 2 different XLR cables, and I think they're the best ones that are out there. Another essential for someone that actually cares about the color is the Blackmagic Design Ultra Studio Monitor 3G box. What this is it connects to my Mac over Thunderbolt out via SDI or HDMI. There's both on here, but it goes and it bypasses the Mac OS color management, so I can make sure when I'm viewing this on a reference display, I'm seeing the actual color of the pixels coming off. I'm not seeing some interpretation from another color management system. The Wacom Intuos Pro medium-sized tablet. Now, a lot of people think the tablets are just for Photoshop, but actually I do a lot of Fusion work, a lot of painting in Fusion, some rotoscoping. But even if I didn't, working with a stylus like this, a pen, it's going to relieve a lot of extra stress versus using a mouse that you're clutched up on all day. I've actually converted this station to only for finishing, and I only have a tablet attached. I don't even have a mouse near here. So if you see me working over here, I'm using this, it works great, and I've got a whole tutorial I'm going to link right now on how you can use a Wacom, or there's other brands out there too, and how you want to set it up so you get your middle click working good, your right click working good, and you'll have all kinds of control. The OWC Express 1M2 Thunderbolt enclosure. This is great because it's super, super fast. Like I get 3,000 megabits per second up and down to my Mac over the Thunderbolt port versus a Samsung gets like 700. So all my Resolve cache files, EXRs run through this thing and they run off this, and it's super, super buttery smooth, no matter the resolution. The Universal Audio Volt to audio interface. This is actually how I record, and anytime I'm recording directly to the computer or doing Zoom calls, I plug my XLR into here, and it has phantom power. It's also how I'm powering speakers if I have speakers connected. Right now I'm just connected to my Beyerdynamic headphones, but it's been great. One thing I love about this that I didn't have in a previous Scarlett is I have a different dial here to control the monitor volume, so the speaker volume output, versus a dial that's down here for the headphones only. So I could leave the headphones up and leave the monitor, the speakers down. The Art Accessories Pro Split box. This thing right here is amazing. A lot of people don't know about this, but you can take an XLR microphone and split it out to multiple recording devices, and that's how I use it. So I've got one blue XLR coming out of here. It's a canary cable. It comes off my Earthworks Ethos, and it goes into here, and it goes out to 2 places. One is it goes to my FX30 top handle to record audio there. And then the white right now is going to my Blackmagic Video Assist XLR port so that I'm recording audio there. Then the reason I do this is then I can use audio to synchronize a screen capture and my video camera, in post in DaVinci Resolve. This is the best way to get one microphone really cleanly out to 2 different recording devices. Now I've settled in at my desk here at Creative Video Tips, and I want to talk about software. First, we're looking at 10 paid software tools that I use on the regular. First one, Obviously, no surprise. It's this guy right here. DaVinci Resolve 20, the studio version. Now, the studio version gives you all that AI goodness, and you get the noise reduction, which is the reason I originally bought it like 15 years ago for $1,000. But the reason I think you should buy it is if you care about software development and getting better new tools, this helps pay the developers to continue to update it to make it better and better and better. There's no ads, there's not selling your data or anything like that, so how else are they going to make money? You got to buy their software. So if you don't have the paid version, this is a warning to you watching my channel. I'm suggesting go buy the version today. You can buy it, you can get it with the other hardware, or you can just go buy it outright if you just want the software. But do yourself a favor, do the industry a favor, and buy DaVinci Resolve Studio. It's worth it. Next on the list, Mocha Pro. Mocha Pro is a good supplemental tool. There is good tracking that's inside of DaVinci Resolve, but this is the best, and I can honestly say like I can solve basically any shot in 2.5D with Mocha Pro. So it's not cheap, but it gets the job done and it more than pays for itself with like less than a day of work. So Neat Video is the next one on the list that's paid, and this is another one that you get actually a reduced rate if you just get the DaVinci Resolve version. Neat Video is noise reduction. So again, DaVinci Resolve Studio has noise reduction. This is just a little bit better. I'm not going to lie. It's a little bit faster. I mean, the company is just dedicated to doing one thing. It's just dedicated to removing noise, and they do a great job. So I use Neat Video. Maybe you should too. I don't know. Next on the list, I've got a couple tools that are actually from other YouTube creators that have made great tools that I use when I'm trying to enhance my screen recording so that you maybe can see things easier or they're just more entertaining. Whip templates, the one I would suggest that I think most people should take a look at is this one here. It's called the Editor Collection. He's got all the things that a normal editor might want to reach for, and they're just ready to go. Things like a marker effect, a highlighter effect. You want a panel to come out and have like side text lists of things you're going to talk about for presentations. All that's in there, and it works fast, and it's really smooth. Mr. Alex Tech. So I've been using this basically since it came out. It's called Magic Zoom Pro. And what Magic Zoom Pro allows me to do is just do those quick little punch-ins to the screen and do the nice like easing, so it's not like a manual step where I have to like enter a keyframe and then ease it. It's all taken care of, and obviously it goes much deeper than that, but to be honest, just the fact that I can punch into something really quickly and then have it come right back out with a simple preset that I drag on there, Mr. Alex Tech has done a great job. I think this is well worth the money he's charging for that right now. Lucid Link. Think of it as a fancy Dropbox or Google Drive that just works a lot better for post-production. Love Lucid Link. If you need to get your footage working collaboratively with someone else in the world, that's a good tool to do that. QT Change. Now, this is not going to be for everyone. This is for us conform artists that we need to have unique time code and real names baked into all the files that run through the whole post-production pipeline. QT Change was actually, it became popular when the DSLRs started. We would shoot Domino's commercials on like a Canon 7D or 5D Mark II, and we needed metadata in those. Well, they've continued to update it, and I found it really useful for a lot of commercials now. Like I did a Samsung S3 thing where Samsung, like they wanted to shoot on their phone, and there was no way of getting timecode metadata in some of the raw files that were captured off of there. So QT Change to the rescue. Just like before, it injects timecode, injects real names so that you can conform and do the traditional offline to online post-production process. So still works, still good. Spark Effects Super Bins. Now, Super Bins is basically a way to quickly get footage either from the internet, downloaded and directly into your DaVinci Resolve bins and timelines, or to just automatically have a project that's set up for you that's automatically importing stuff that is placed on disk. It's kind of like in the newer versions of Resolve where you can auto-sync a bin and have it preload. But the disadvantage to the Resolve version is you have to have media in there and it has to be imported in the correct order and all that. And it just basically keeps what's on your hard drive, on your disk, maintain the same structure inside your DaVinci Resolve project bins. And it has lots of features, and everyone really loves it. So Super Bins. I'm going to suggest you get Cutting Club. What Cutting Club is, just briefly, is a lot of times lately I've done a lot of visual effects cleanup tutorials in the last year or two, and I'm just putting the footage available on this members page on my website, Creative Video Tips, so you can follow along with the free teaching. The last of my paid software is Jump Desktop. So Jump Desktop is like, it's a remote desktop app. The reason I think it's as valuable as a post-production professional is a lot of us have multiple computers. You might have a desktop and a laptop. Well, what if you want to access the desktop from your laptop from anywhere in the world and do it securely? Jump Desktop, in my opinion, is the best way to do it. In fact, I've worked at a lot of facilities since COVID where their whole setup is based off of Jump Desktop, meaning you're editing at a remote location on that remote computer and using Jump Desktop to reach it. Now we're talking the top 10 free apps that I use on the daily. And I'll just go through the list here. Most of them can be grabbed off of GitHub, and you just install them into whatever sort of presets directory. I'm not going into that today. I just want to highlight the ones that I think are worthwhile. First on the list is the GitHub page for Thatcher Freeman. So I talked about this not too long ago when I was talking about importing ACES plates, but the two things that I love that Thatcher has on here, and there's literally tons, I use under the ACES transforms, he's got a DCTL that is allowing me to import linear ACES plates and converting them to log before they hit the transforms on the edit page. That's really powerful for me. He's also got a perspective positioner and a corner positioner tool for Fusion that works a little bit nicer than the one that's built into Fusion because it basically has a swap button. So it kind of works like the grid warp tool in Fusion. I think that's really valuable. Those are the ones I reach for really regularly. Next on the free list is OpenDRT from the JettyPod GitHub page that's over here. OpenDRT, again, oh, by the way, this is a DCTL, so you need Studio to run this, but the OpenDRT DCTL is basically like a color space transform that just, I think, does a little bit nicer job of going from log to a display state like Rec 709. So that's one I use a lot. It's probably what I'm using right now to grade the log footage that's on here. Another DCTL that's also really, really nice looking and does kind of a similar thing to OpenDRT, just has a different look to go from log to display state, is Juan Pablo Zambrano's. His DCTL is called the 2499 DRT, and it's the same idea. It's basically goes from log states to a display state, and just looks a lot nicer than the typical color space transform or a LUT that you might normally apply. I've got Seth Golden's GitHub here, and the tool that I use, and I've used at several facilities, is there's a backup script for network installed databases. So if you have the network tab running on DaVinci Resolve Project Manager where you're doing collaboration but it's not using Blackmagic Cloud, this allows you to set scheduled backups. Academy Software Foundation, OpenColor.io. So this is where you get your OCIO configs. So if you work with ACES, you need this. In fact, I use the OCIO config not just in Fusion when I'm doing compositing. I also use that same config file over in Affinity so that I can get everything looking exactly the same with my EXRs in Affinity. Pinionist. His name's Pavle. Sorry, I always mess your name up. Another good friend of mine. He's created a couple of conforming tools that are really helpful. One is the Timeline Clips Renamer, and I have one that I have on my website. I've talked about this before, but essentially you rename shots for visual effects is the idea here, automatically using the API tools that were updated in Resolve 20.1, I believe, moving forward. As well as another one on here that I use a lot called the Remove Sequence Padding. We have Mars Polis. This is Polis VFX Resolve Conform Tools. One of the scripts that he has on here that's free and available is called that I like using is called the Generate All Clips Timeline Lua script. And what this can do is it can look at multiple timelines and generate one timeline with sort of the best length version from all of those. And I will say there's one exception to this, is if you have a lot of retimed footage, it will warn you, but if you have speed changes, it can't quite understand what the longest version is if there's speed changes, but if there's not, this can be a good way of getting one timeline that has all the clips from multiple timelines without doing a more involved process that I have a tutorial on that basically exports and imports and relinks and that sort of stuff. Zark's Racks. So Sammy Roto 2. Don't tell Blackmagic about this one, but Sammy Roto 2 is kind of like the free Magic Mask. So I don't really need to say much more than that, but if you want to run Sammy Roto, which is segmentation-based AI rotoscoping, and do it in the terminal. It does have a GUI, but it basically runs like native on your Mac. This is a great tool to do that, and you can get quick masks that are pretty accurate right out of this free tool that you can get from GitHub.
runs on Python. It's the We Suck Less page here. It's stakeunderwater.com. It's a Reactor. But Reactor is basically full of a lot of really, really great useful tools that don't exist for Fusion. So if you use Fusion, I think Reactor is a must. Some of my favorite tools in there are from a guy named Emilio Sapia, and he has tools in there that like let you change tracking reference frames, that let you regrain the same way you would regrain in Nuke. And then the final free software that I think is going to be the future for most of us that are doing any sort of desktop photo or graphic design editing is Affinity. So I don't know how I feel about Canva, who acquired Affinity, but I've been working with Affinity Photo now for 3 or 4 years to do thumbnails and minor cleanup and stuff. Affinity is amazing because they are lightweight compared to Photoshop. There's no cost at all for the full application. And they work with things like EXRs, which are, these really high-res linear files that we can get straight out of Fusion. So Affinity, in my book, is really worthwhile checking out and starting to pick up and learn. And it doesn't cost a single thing to get the free version. It used to be inexpensive. Now it doesn't cost anything. Hey, thank you so much if you made it all the way to right now. Let me just quickly introduce myself. If you don't know who I am, my name is Chadwick. I'm a DaVinci Resolve master trainer. I live here in New York. I work on high-end commercials for finishing. But the reason I want to make this video is because, well, there's affiliate links. I might make a little income from that. But to be honest, it's stuff I buy 3 or 4 times over, and I think a lot of that gear that I use and showed in here is somewhat niche and specific, and maybe you haven't heard of it, like the microphone splitter in particular. I think it could potentially really help your workflow out. I really do appreciate you, and because there's always so much more to learn, I'll see you in the next video.